Funny enough, I started going to the gym because I had to commute from Baltimore City, like an hour home. And I was like, I don't want to sit in this traffic. So at the time, my job was like, oh, well, we'll give you some money towards your gym membership. So, I mean, it's such a silly reason to join a gym, but it was like ended up being the best thing I ever did. Like, didn't have to sit in the traffic and felt so much better after, giving back to myself, giving back to my body, like working up a sweat. Like to me, like it became like my happy hour rather than going to happy hour.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to our latest episode of Fueling Fire with All Terrain Fitness. We have one of the most kind-hearted, genuine, badass mama bears out there.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, she's an ex-all-terrain athlete and just lives her life like that every day now. So Jess, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, I am Jess. As you guys mentioned, I am a mom, first-time mom. My son's almost 2, and I joined the all-terrain crew about a year ago. And prior to all-terrain, I had been into fitness for about a decade, but kind of needed help for the first time. I was, I had my son, and I was just looking to get rid of some weight. And it started with just wanting like, oh, let me just drop a couple pounds or whatever. But honestly, I've gained so much more from becoming an all-terrain athlete. But yeah, just living the mom life, working full time, like trying to do it all. But, obviously you can't. So just trying to do the best I can.
Yeah, you said, you said you'd been in your fitness journey for, what'd you say, 15 years, 12, 15 years already?
About a decade. Prior to stepping into the gym, before that, I was really not an active person, like played sports when I was little, but never really excelled at it. And then was kind of just sedentary and found my way into a gym.
What was that process like? How did you get there from like not really doing much to walking in?
Funny enough, I started going to the gym because I had to commute from Baltimore City, like an hour home. And I was like, I don't want to sit in this traffic. So at the time, my job was like, oh, well, we'll give you some money towards your gym membership. So I mean, it's such a silly reason to join a gym, but it was like ended up being the best thing I ever did. Like, didn't have to sit in the traffic and felt so much better after, giving back to myself, giving back to my body, like working up a sweat. Like to me, like it became like my happy hour rather than going to happy hour. So that's kind of how it started. But in the beginning, it was like group fitness classes. Like it was like very much just, I had no idea what I was doing. And I certainly wasn't picking up any weights. It was a lot of group fitness, spins, things like that in the beginning.
And then you met and started working with our now head strength conditioning coach, Eric Barrett, right?
Yeah. So the fitness journey got better once I got into personal training. And I worked with Eric, I don't know, I think about 5-6 years. And that's when I started picking up weights. That's when I actually started seeing some, composition change. But I will say, I still, you see the personal trainer like once a week. Like that's literally all I could afford because it's like mad expensive. So, we worked together once a week, but then I was going out in my life and like not, always making the best nutrition choices. I mean, I knew like I always wanted to take nutrition seriously, but like it's scary. It's like on your own, you don't know what to do. And there's a lot of noise out there. Like you could read the blogs or you could like, listen to a podcast about it, but it's really hard to like know what to do on your own. So kind of just being too scared about it. I was just like, oh, I'll get in, figure that out at some point. But for now, like I'm working out. So like, I'm fine. Like, I spend 6 days in the gym. So people would always say, well, you can eat whatever you want because you work out so much. I was like, I guess that, yeah, why not? I can. So the nutrition was never like,
it sounds good in my head.
Yeah, it's a lie, but, but yeah, so working with Eric was great, but I still wasn't always making like the best choices otherwise. Like I said, 6 days a week in the gym. I felt like if I took a day off, that was like a sign of weakness. I would wake up at like 4:00 in the morning after going to bed at like 11 at night. Like it was kind of I thought I was like badass badge of honor. Like, look at me go. But like, it's really, you shouldn't be proud of something like that at all.
Well, and that's what we say is so many people wear their lack of recovery and their lack of sleep as a badge of honor. And it's really funny you say that because we're going to be recording a podcast all about recovery in just a little bit, touching on those things. But I think it's really cool to hear your side of the story on like working with Eric, because when he first came to the All Train team and we were actually all just reflecting on this as coaches after our Zoom call last night with some of the people in our program. And I remember so vividly, he's like, I have this client, like I've been working with her for 5 to 6 years. Like she's so awesome. And he's like, I had no idea that what we're doing was going to change and like unlock so much potential. Like we didn't even know what exactly we were all getting ourselves into. And he's like, I have this athlete, Jess, like, she needs to come into this atmosphere because like she doesn't even know that she needs to change all these things in her life. But like I look at her as this person who doesn't even know her potential, and she's going to skyrocket when she gets in here. And I think we can easily say that that's exactly what happened.
Well, he's very kind. I think Eric and I were a lot alike because he worked himself to death too. Like he needed the decision for him to be your head coach was like the best decision he could have made for himself. So, I had no idea the potential was in there either. And I just feel grateful that I remember like Eric talking to me about it. And luckily I knew him well enough to just be like, I trust this guy, it's hard when you don't, I feel like for other people that don't know you guys, like they don't realize, but I was lucky enough that I knew Eric and I was like, I trust you. So it was actually a really easy decision, especially since I was in this kind of crossroads in my life after having my son. Being a mom, like, is like 100% your full-time job, but it's also like your heart's in it 100%. And you also need like a piece for yourself. So well,
and that's where, you were saying you were working out 6 days a week and all these things. And like when you didn't have a child, like it was a little easier to get away with, and you were going to have to avoid traffic anyways. So it was like, this is a part of my life. It's really not fitting in my boxes. So it's totally fine. And then once, you had your son, I think you also had this priority shift. And one of the biggest things that we've talked about is that you had this epiphany that you couldn't do it all. And when do you think that started? And where'd that really come from? Like, when did you have that realization, like, shit, I'm dropping this and dropping this and dropping that. Like, what am I going to do?
The epiphany. Maybe in like those newborn days.
Yeah.
One day, you might be in that spot, and it's like, it's just,
you don't even know what day it is.
I know, it's just like nothing you could ever like prepare yourself for. But like, it's like I knew I couldn't continue to be that person that I was before. Like I was never going to be able to go back to like spend all Saturday morning at the gym and like just have the freedom of my time. Like, and I think that's what's really great about All Terrain is like, it's not about having like this perfect gym setup or a perfect like schedule where you have all this time. It's like, no, like whatever your situation is, like you can make it work. Like, and you can still get like crazy results and like, and all of that with like not the best setup, like with like not all the ideal circumstances in your life. Like life was easier before a kid. Like I could do whatever I want, whenever I want it. But it's like, I don't have that anymore, but like, but
you
things
still
are
want to have that piece to yourself, like you said.
100%. Like I would go crazy if I didn't. Like the minute I really started getting back into moving my body, working out after having my son, because it, you know, I had a C-section, I had to take some time off this and that, but I started to feel like myself again.
When did you, I guess, click over into realizing you can get awesome results without having the perfect setup? Or another way to ask that question would be, you know, what was the big, you know, I don't want to say epiphany bridge again, but you were doing 6 days a week gym, and then you were working with a personal trainer. And I know there's a lot of people that still get stuck in that 6 days a week gym, you know, well, I must need a personal trainer. I must not be working out right. Two, now you have seen like, hey, it really does come down to understanding how to eat for your needs. And, you know, training is not meant to be another stressful layer. It's meant to be, hey, if I have the opportunity to train, let me do something I enjoy and that's going to fill up my cup. When was that? I guess you could even maybe talk about the gradual transition or the transformation of like you kind of shifting from one to the other. When did you kind of come over to the good side?
Well, I guess it kind of took motherhood and a pandemic to get me there. I mean, otherwise I think I would be trying to do the same thing and probably feeling really bad all the time because like I used to beat myself up when I couldn't get that workout in. It's like, but life happens. Like sometimes you're just not, you have all the intentions to do it. And then it just doesn't happen for whatever reason. You know, you oversleep, your son has a meltdown, like traffic, whatever it is, prevents you from doing what you want to do. So, and the pandemic kept me in this house, and it was like, well, without all my equipment, like, what am I going to do? And like, online training was not even like, I didn't even realize that maybe I'm just not with, no, like maybe I'm not with the times, like, but I just didn't even know it was like a real option. Like I thought like, oh, you just go, it's a gym, you go to the gym. Like I had been in that autopilot for so long that I think sometimes you have to just explore the different possibilities out there and realize, you know what, like maybe there's a better way. And this is a better way, you know, like I don't have, you know, I'm saving time by not running to the gym. I'm getting better results by really a lot of it was like, we've talked about this before, is like taking a step back, like not trying to go so hard all the time and just being very intentional about the workouts that I am doing. Like, and that's benefited me as opposed to like must do 6 days a week, must do all HIIT workouts, like really like lifting heavy stuff. Life-changing.
Yeah.
Do you have a maybe, you know, you went from somebody who didn't know what online training was to now having a clear understanding? So like, what would you say if you could bottom line, like what is online coaching into like one or two sentences? What do you think that would be? Or what do you think that would sound like?
I mean, to me, online coaching is, support and guidance in every sense of the word, because like I had the guidance from my personal trainer, but I didn't have the support, like literally whenever I needed it. Like I said, saw him once a week and that was about it. So online coaching is is literally that guidance, that support. I really think it's been about a lot of knowledge, like really, like I said, like I didn't know where to start when it came to the nutrition stuff. And it turns out it's actually not that complicated, but I need, I needed someone to show me that.
Yeah.
But when you're in the dark about it, you just don't even know any better. And, a lot, I think my progress and what I have to show for it is really been about admitting, like, I don't have all the answers. Like, I need, it's okay to admit you don't have all the answers and seek out the help from people that know better than you. And that doesn't mean you're weak or dumb. It just means that you can't know it all. So I think we all should try to be humble in that regard of like, who might know better than me, because, I'm not seeing the results I want to see, or I'm not feeling good about, myself, or I'm not feeling good about my workouts. Like it's not working for me. So there are people out there that can guide you.
Yeah. And I think, I've said this a lot in being a former personal trainer and, Division I strength coaches, is people just don't need, or should I say, people don't need more information, and people really need support at the correct times, right? People don't need the support at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday, right? When you're halfway awake, you're there to just get your workout in. The trainer gives you one little tip. You're not even fully awake, or you're in the middle of your, gut busting workout, and they give you a tip and you're like, okay, now you have to somehow take this information, decipher it, and then put it into action, and somehow figure out all scenarios, right? And there's a million scenarios, but you can bottom line those scenarios, or you can walk through those different scenarios, at least with overarching principles, right? Like that's kind of what our aim is with All Terrain, is to just, hey, every situation you run into, here are these principles of how to approach it with your food, your metabolism, and being there for when you do run into the obstacle, right? Like that's the big thing with online coaching, is that we can give you that access of like when you're actually in the obstacle, right? Like it's Friday, you have plans for the weekend, you're starting to get nervous. You're like, man, I did really great this week. I know I have these plans for the weekend. How do I go through those without feeling like I sabotage everything or freaking out or being stressed, still be able to go enjoy them and then still get progress? And that's really where people need that support. It's not so much, again, on a Tuesday at 7 a.m. People need it when they're in the situation, they're in the thick of it. And then how do you take those principles and apply it to every scenario? When you have a team, a tribe, coaches, support, constant contact, that's when you can have somebody to bounce ideas off of, right? How many times have we all been in, a group messenger talking about something at, 7 p.m. on a Friday, right? When somebody's eating, going to do something and they want to know how to make it work. And that's when people need the support. It's not during the workouts.
Well, and I think there's also like two things that just reminded me while both of you were talking, is that I think one of the biggest differences with online coaches is it allows you to realize you don't know what you don't know. And so it's like, yes, you had that background to trust Eric to kind of come into the process. But I think also when you came in, it was like, I don't even know what I'm trying to learn, because I don't even know what I don't know. And I think that's one of the biggest things that you did, is you came in with an open mind. And that's also what's going to allow people to have the progress that you're talking about, and that support and that guidance is really leaning into that community and knowing that it's okay, like you were saying, to not know the answers. It's okay to ask for help. That doesn't make you weak. And I know you and I have had conversations, and especially in our ladies chat, that's something that not only you struggle with, not only I struggle with. That is a very universal problem that sometimes we forget that other people are going through as well. And then the other fact I think that's important that both of you kind of touched on was that we meet you where you are. And I think you've also learned that not only do we as coaches and as the community meet you where you are, but you've learned yourself to meet you where you are too. And that's, you know, in regards to your strength, in regards to trying out endurance. And before
meet you where you're at, just in your life.
Yeah,
right? Like,
just nutritionally,
now you have a kid.
anything.
Hey, now let's meet you where you're at with what you have going on in your life. You have a newborn, and now how can we still make progress with what you have available and where you're at in life?
Yeah. And that's going to keep changing, and we have to keep meeting us where we're at.
Yeah.
I think that's what is hard about maintaining like a level of success or sort of progress, is that things are always changing in your life. So it's like things are easy now, but like there's a bump in the road coming. So
yeah.
But in what the All Terrain atmosphere is trying to do is giving you those tools so that no matter what is thrown at you, you're literally going to be okay.
What you just said reminds me of, again, last night on our Zoom call, another one of our athletes took kind of the same words that you were just saying and flipped it. He's like, you know, I feel like the biggest thing I got out of All Terrain is that I'm the one who's in control now. It used to feel like all of these other things that were happening in life, like you said, things change all the time. It seemed like it was those external things that were in control, and I was just like trying to follow along, and it's like one thing worked and one thing didn't work, and it got a little confusing. And he's like, you know what, now with every tool that I've learned within the All Terrain community, and especially mentally and physically, like whatever gets thrown at me or whatever I decide to do, I'm the one who's in the driver's seat, and I'm the one who gets to control that outcome regardless. And you can't take that away from me. Like once I have it, and no one gets to take it.
That's a really, really good point.
Andrew Padley.
You had mentioned though that, you know, there's things are easy now, but then there's a bump, right? And that's in life, bumps are always guaranteed, right? Life is always changing. You know, the one guarantee in life is change. Mm-hmm. And that's with, you know, our pillars of being all terrain, you know, understanding how to eat for your metabolism, wherever that is at that time, you know, making fitness do with what you have around you. You know, that is, these principles can, like we said, when you do have that bump, you kind of have you have a blueprint, if you will, to how to approach that bump. And I think that's what a lot of people miss in fitness, right? It's so many people, when they want to start, they're like, well, I have a lot of things coming up right now. You know, maybe I'll wait till I have more free time. And I'm like, well, you should probably learn how to keep that healthy composition, that healthy physiology that you want to keep for life. You should probably learn how to keep that through having a lot of things to do, not having everything perfect. Because when you can learn how to keep the physiology while you navigate chaos and everything else in your life, that's when you keep a lifestyle. That's when you stay all terrain. That's when you know how to do it. And I think that's, you know, always our underlying message. And I think you're a very good example of somebody who's recognized that now. You know, when, you know, obviously you got very shredded, more shredded than me.
So ripped.
I need to lay off the weight claws.
No, you don't, because you can make that work.
That's right.
You're just not making it work.
Yeah, I'm just going a little too far. You know, summer after COVID, it happens.
It does.
But I think that's a way to kind of, or maybe would you say that's a fair definition of maybe something you've gained beyond just the tangible physique and scale number?
Yeah. I mean, I totally signed up for the physique. Like, I think that's what most people sign up for. It's like, they want to look good for themselves. They want to look good for their partner. They want to look good to get a partner, whatever it is. But I think that's really not what I'm walking away with. Like, I gained it, but I feel like it's so minor on the scale of things that I have taken away from, you know, from my time with All Terrain. And like what you were saying with things like not being perfect. It's like, I just ran this half marathon, and I think it's almost like, I think my new mantra is going to be like, is it really scary? Okay. All right. Well, then I'm going to do it. Like, and I never would have thought that way before. I think I was the person that resisted change, even though like you said, it's totally inevitable, but like, that is where the good stuff happens. Like just resisting change and wanting to like just stagnant. Like you're not learning.
You're not
You're not going to be
happy.
fulfilled.
Yeah.
No,
all
You're not
just like
growing.
harped on the same thing. No one's happy. No one's fulfilled. And that's why it's like, this is your new mantra. And I think, as you can probably allude, this half marathon is really fucking scared you, like a lot. And it took a long time to get you to actually sign up, but you're on the other side of it now. And that's what you're carrying as your mantra through life, not just through training.
Yeah. And I don't think I would have signed up if it weren't for Hailey, if it weren't for the people here. I mean, and that's why sometimes you need on your own, when you're trying to do it all on your own, like, I think you're just more liable to be like you said, it's not a good time. I'll do it later. But when you have those people behind you, it's like sometimes in life, you just need someone to believe in you.
Yeah.
And I feel like I look back on my life, and the times that I've really made the most progress is when there was just that one person that was in my corner saying, I know you don't believe in yourself, but I believe.
Yeah. Our own self-imposed limiting beliefs can be such, governing chips, and that cap our, real potential or want to, shut us down before we even tap into, our utmost extreme, right? Like that saying that the body is going to shut you down, or the brain's going to shut you down before the body actually hits its full capacity type thing. And, that definitely can be extrapolated to life, right? In the sense of, I think I've been kind of dissecting this a little bit more, I think, in the sense that there's complacency where you're not tapping into discomfort to grow, right? You live in your comfort bubble, but then you also feel a little void of meaning. And then, where you're kind of at, where you're starting to realize like, all right, if it scares me, that's probably where I need to go, and starting to get into that. And then I think there's another level of, I'm trying to regulate, and this has kind of been trying to, how do I decipher tell my crazy brain to chill out sometimes and somebody else, I got this from somebody else. But then once you kind of get into where you're that person where you want to do everything all the time, you have to look at it in the sense, is it a fuck yes? And if it's just a yes or kind of yes, then it's probably not something that you need to do. And so now my new kind of guy, because, let's be real.
You're the yes man. We know that. Jess and I, not the yes men.
So now it needs to be a fuck yes for me, is what I'm trying to say. And I think those are three different levels. And I think we all have different spots of where we're at in that journey, right?
I love that we brought up the fact of self-belief. Jess, I brought a book that you need to read. And I think I tried to bring it up on a podcast before and like totally shit the bed with trying to explain what it was about. But it's called How Bad Do You Want It by Matt Fitzgerald. And
who's on the cover? Don't look.
Is that Prefontaine?
You did it.
Oh, thank God. Ooh, I actually just started sweating. But so like Jess and I both, she just alluded that she ran a half marathon, and she and I both very much newbies in the endurance sphere. And so I decided to pick up a copy of this book when Jess and I both decided, okay, let's do this. Let's run a half. And literally last night or yesterday morning, I can't remember time of day, I was reading, and this one quote stuck out to me solely for you. And I knew we were talking to you today. But it says, this is about people who have an excessive focus on their outcome, which we all know. I really struggle with that. And I think you and I knew going into this process, like, okay, let's not think about crossing the finish line. Let's think about enjoying the process and falling in love with running.
Pause. For those who don't know, Hailey and Jess both have ran a half marathon
Fresh.
in the past 2 weeks.
Real fresh.
Yes. Both something they
Our
haven't done
first.
before. Yes. So there we go. That kind of
Thank
sets
you. Thank you.
We have two women who are very outcome driven. Is that fair?
Very fair. Working on it. Also
Okay.
fair.
All right. So now we're up to speed.
But so like when it said that, I was like, okay, well, what's this all about? Because that's definitely,
Read it again.
it's about people that have an excessive focus on a desired outcome. I haven't gotten to the good part yet.
Oh, okay.
But then it it talks about towards the end, it says they feel that if only they can achieve their goal, then they'll have self-belief to carry into the next race. But it doesn't work like that. The self-belief has to come first. And I think that's one of the biggest things, not only through all-terrain, not through any goal, but it's always like, if I complete this, then I'll be good enough. If I do this, then like if I cross that finish line, then I know I'm a runner. And where it's like, no, in reality, we need to have that mindset shift before we go into that so that we're focusing on that process and not, they were like, you need to have, and it's what doesn't allow people to get into the flow state because you're thinking about that outcome the entire time. You're not allowing yourself to just get into the moment and focus on the process so that it's like your brain doesn't have enough energy to think about all of those things at once.
Or
and you have a shit-eating grin on your face.
Yeah, you all are just too smart for your own good. You just need to be a little slower like myself, where you just kind of get into this dog-like state where you just don't feel it because you're not smart enough to feel it.
Sure, you could look at it that way, or you could read really great books and be like, yes.
You could.
So
that's probably the better way. Be smarter. Don't be dumber like myself.
I was reflecting back on the training for the half, and I have to say though that all the confidence I think that I took away from the process was probably in all the days that I showed up for myself in the training. It wasn't because it wasn't the finish line. It wasn't because I had the medal after I was done. It was like all those days that I got, you know, I woke up early, I put my shoes on and I showed up for myself. And so
running was your total not your thing. Both of you.
Nope.
Babe, I love you, but you are you're built to fly through the air.
I'm not built to hit the ground over and over again. I don't look like a gazelle when I run.
You're definitely not built to run far. You're meant to fly and run fast.
Well, you know what?
But you are overcoming perceived obstacles. Limiting beliefs.
But I think that it's important to go after things that you're not inherently good at. I am not an inherently good runner. Like it doesn't like just come easily to, you know, you see the people running and it's like they have it doesn't look like they're putting any effort in. It just comes easily to them, or at least that's the perception. But I'm not inherently good at it, but I think you learn a lot and you gain a lot by pursuing those things. Yeah.
And I think what I tried to say is like, it's not where your strong suit was and you are pushing into that and becoming a lot better. Like, and to say that for a lot of people, of like, if you feel like there's something, exactly what Jess is saying, if you feel like there's something that you have this perceived limiting belief, right? You can flip that script. You can flip that self-talk. And especially if you have somebody in your corner, like Jess said, you can really press through those things, which other than that last few statements I've said, I've been pretty supportive of you.
Other than not making it to the finish line of the half marathon, but we'll get into that later.
I did. Jess, I showed up 10 minutes late to the finish line, and I missed her sprinting.
She was so fast. She was so fast.
I was technically on time for the time I was instructed to be there.
Sure, we'll go with that.
I was.
Okay. But let's go back to the beginning of the half marathon before we get to the finish line. And especially for you, what put that idea in your head, or kind of like, where did that goal even come from? Why did you decide it's something you wanted to tackle?
For me, I think it just was like something that just kind of felt impossible to me. Like, we've talked about this, like the mile run in middle school was like the worst day ever.
And you can still picture it in your mind.
I can. And it's funny, the story, it's like I created this story around running at a young age. And it was like, you're not good at this. It doesn't feel good. You're not good at this. And I even remember I was thinking about this. My grandfather, he was a coach. He coached football. And he actually was a good athlete himself. And he was like, I think you should
run in your family.
Yeah, it does. But he was like, I really think you should do cross country. It's like he saw potential in me, but I like immediately shut that down. Like, because I had already created this story around like me as a runner, like me as a endurance athlete. Like, nope. I was like, and you know, he kind of knew what he was talking about, but like I couldn't hear it. Like I had already created the story about like who I was, and I was not a runner. So I was sort of motivated with like, I want to turn that around. Like, I don't feel like a runner, but like, why can't I become one? It feels impossible, but actually once I just started trying, it was hard, but I quickly realized that it was totally possible. Hard, like sucky sometimes. Some days sucked, but it wasn't impossible. It felt like it was, but it really wasn't.
Well, it's really funny that you say like those exact same, because that's like part of my identity was that I wasn't a runner. Like it was part of who I was. So it's almost like, well, don't challenge it. Like it's almost like, no, I don't run. That's like another badge of honor where it's like, I don't sleep, I don't recover, and I don't run. It's a great life to live. And I will say, like, I knew going into the training that that's what I was going to have to challenge too. And as you said, those exact words, I was laughing because I remember we can like look out our window right now and running by the house. And as I was running, I would literally to my pace be like, you belong on the trail. Like you are a runner, like as my feet were hitting the ground. And I felt very silly and like super weird and like kind of out there for doing it, but it literally worked. And I was like, it made it seem so silly. Like, why am I telling myself that I'm not? Because it sounds really weird to flip it the other way and say that I am. So either one of them, like, yeah, I'm here, I'm running, obviously. I don't know how we limit ourselves for so long. But you really have to actively shift that. And like you said, it's not like, all of a sudden we turned on the slate and we're runners now and we love it and it's wonderful and great. No, but we're working through that process.
Yeah, I mean, I think when they were talking about the definition of all-terrain, it was like to make things like limitless. Like if you want it, you can have it, and it doesn't mean that we're the fastest people out there, but there are really no limits. You just need some guidance and you need to push past the suck and you can go out and do it.
So how did the half go?
Good and bad. I had mixed feelings over
Be
it.
honest.
Well, I accomplished the impossible sort of dream in my heart. So that felt really good. Like I said, I showed up for the training. I didn't half-ass it or like mail it in. And that felt really good. But it took me crossing the finish line to realize that like, I didn't want to just cross the finish line. Like I wanted to be like hit a certain pace and I came up short, and it's been a couple of weeks. It's still bugging me. So, but I think this is really good, right? Like, I think it's good. I have passion. Like I am not sitting on the sidelines without a pulse anymore. Like nice. I am like out there and I'm not satisfied, and that's okay because I can go out there again and get at it again.
Well, that it's very similar. Noah Olson is a famous CrossFit athlete, but his kind of tagline is happy but hungry. And it sounds like that's where you were able to find yourself as well, where it's like, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the journey. I enjoyed the process, but it wasn't until I crossed it that I was like, that didn't feel as sweet as I thought it would. But you didn't get caught in the negativity of that moment. It wasn't like, well, here I go again, like not happy when I've achieved something. And it didn't turn that way. It was like, oh, I think I also just found that belief that my grandfather had in me, that all of these other people, quote unquote, believed in me. I never had it in myself, but you were the one who found it in yourself when you crossed that finish line, that you were like, no, I know I can hit that pace, and I didn't hit it, and I'm going to try again. So did you sign up for another one?
I'm about to. I haven't, but I will.
Do I have to force you right now on the podcast to sign up for it? Oh my God.
I know. It's like, it's more just like, oh, it's 3 hours away and like, commitment. But I've been continuing to run, and part of me felt a little defeated that day, but it's really like, I know I was victorious in doing it and completing my goal. But like, I think, if everything's perfect, like, what do we learn? Like, I learned a lot by like coming up, quote, coming up short on like kind of like a goal I had in my heart. And it's like, I can use that fire onto the next thing, or like just in my life. Like, I think signing up for something that was so scary for me, it's like the confidence gained from that, like I can take that into any avenue of my life. So like the next thing that comes my way that I'm like, oh, I think I want to do that, but I'm like really scared. It's like, no, I think that I'm more likely to take that leap and try that thing, which I think is, it's just a race, but it's way bigger than a race.
That's what being all terrain is.
Yeah, it is.
That's how I would define it, at least.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's everything that we want to accomplish in our atmosphere with our athletes and where they want to go is, again, diving into something that makes them scared. I mean, joining our program, right? It is definitely not the cheapest program out there, but that's typically what people need to get over that hump, to take that leap of faith, to actually get themselves to commit to taking the action that they know they want to take, that they ultimately already know they want to take to get to where they want to go, right? And like you said, once you kind of get there and you actualize that, you make one progress, then you starts to snowball the more things that you want to keep doing and taking on. And then the next thing you know, you're like myself, who just wants to go do 30 days remote bow hunting in Alaska. That's the next frontier. So
you skip some steps. You're like, I don't even know what happens in your brain sometimes. But I love you. Yeah, it's very motivational.
I'm just letting you know where I'm at.
I love that. Ours are a little more baby stepped, and yours is like from one step to the other step is like, what dimension did you just cross?
That's right. That's how I live my life.
And that's why you're one of the leaders of all terrain. It's good to see it.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, love you.
You gotta take the podcast into the woods with you and give us a close look at what you got going on.
Just sitting in the woods with Gary's thoughts.
Yes, exactly.
Hey there, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the episode and took away some value that will amplify your life. But if you are ready to become an all-terrain human yourself, then click the link below to head over to our Facebook group to receive a copy of our all-terrain body blueprint, the 5 key pillars to a fast metabolism for life. These 5 pillars will show you how to speed up your metabolism at any age and eat for your specific metabolic needs so you can obtain your ideal composition without eliminating foods and spending all day in the gym. So if you're ready to reclaim your energy, vitality, and fire for life, then click the link below and head over to the All Terrain Fitness Mentality and Fat Loss Facebook group to pick up a copy of the All Terrain Body Blueprint, the 5 key pillars to a fast metabolism for life, and we will see you on the inside. Well, Jess, like we ask everyone, what does being an all-terrain human mean to you?
I think I've said this before, but for me, I think it's been stepping into my power and potential. That's always been there, but that I was too distracted to access, too scared, too busy. I think I was that person that was like, that excuse of like, I'm too busy and I'm too stressed. But, taking the time for yourself, pouring into yourself allows you to give to everyone else around you. And that's what it's really all about. That's what makes you feel good. That's what helps everyone else around you. So that's what it means to me.
I love it. We're often too scared to be working at our utmost potential or performing at our utmost potential. So you're living it, killing it.
Right.
Anything else before we sign off, crew? Oh yeah. No.
I think we're often just too scared to work on ourselves, right? Like I know that it's like we're constantly prodding and questioning and helping each other work through things in the all-terrain atmosphere. And it's like when you're just like off on your own, like you're not doing that. Like maybe you are, but it's not. I don't think it's as intense or nearly as effective that when you have these people around you that are really trying to help you become a better version of yourself. So I needed that post baby as a new mom. I needed that more than anything. Like it's helped me be a better mom. It's helped, and it's all about setting that example for my son. I want him to see mom's big muscles and like, I want him to like, want to get out there and be active. Like that is so, so important to me. And I want him to have a good relationship with food too, as well.
When I think it's so important, it's, probably how your grandfather felt looking at you, where it was like, I want to be this person that they can look up to. And I think that's, now that you've unlocked it for yourself, if you can really see your own true potential. And that's something that I think all of us hope, no matter whether it's your son or daughter or nephew or niece or any child that's in your life, just like you want them to be able to have that self-belief as well. And the greatest gift we can give them is believing in ourselves, because we can't teach that when we don't have it inside of us. It's not something we can fake. People can easily pick up on that. So I think that's really the biggest gift that you can give him is not only are you that example with food, that example with training, but you're that example of actually believing in yourself. And that's what I think he's going to take away.
Boom. Mic drop.
Best mama.
That's right. Anything else you wanted to hit before we sign off?
I don't think so. Jess, was there anything else that you kind of wanted to touch on while you were on the podcast?
I don't think so.
Cool. I think that was amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. Thanks,
guys.
Telling us about that linear progression of those, different, epiphany bridges from, just doing the group class training to personal training, realizing there's a little bit more to workouts, and then getting into nutrition, then understanding how you can keep this all-terrain lifestyle without everything being perfect, and then ultimately getting to this position where like the mental resiliency is wanting to push into the fray more consistently, because on the other side of that is growth and rewarding things and more mental resiliency and empowerment. Boom.
I'm lucky to have you guys.
Oh, thank you for being an all-terrain athlete.
You're the best.
Yeah. Peace out.
Appreciate you, Jess.